r/ask Reddit. Which persistent misconception myth annoys you the most? I have a virus. Therefore, I need antibiotics. I work in a hospital. Every day I hear this. Every ducking day. My favorite is when they come in and straight up ask for antibiotics and get pissed when it doesn't work that way. Any hoax that my family finds on Facebook. Recently I was warned to not eat bananas because they were being injected with HIV. Not only are bananas not being injected with HIV, it wouldn't survive more than a few seconds outside a body. So, really, just be wary of people sprinting up to you with a banana and demanding you eat it fast. It wouldn't survive more than a few seconds outside a body. That's why they were injecting it into the banana's body. Weren't you listening? We will solve all our problems if we just elect the right president. People don't realize just how much power Congress has over the president. If you want change, get the right president and get the right people in Congress. Sadly, most people just go for the president. Not to mention the right and wrong here is completely subjective to personal opinion. That Scrudinger's cat is about the cat. It's not. It's about how weird quantum superposition is. Also, the cat is not alive or dead, but you don't know which it is until you check. It's alive and dead at the same time. Which is complete nonsense. That's why quantum superposition is weird. My favorite Eli5 by u/Mick Holmes. Link to post Scrudinger's cat is the Eli5 version of the weird properties of quantum physics. The long version is, when we look at really small stuff, we can't actually see it with light, because it's so small light can't bounce off of it like it does large objects like cats. The only way we can see these tiny things, i.e. electrons, is to hit them with other small things. However, by hitting them, we've imparted a force, which changing the way they are behaving. So we can't actually see anything on the quantum scale and know how it usually behaves, only by how it behaves when it's getting hit by stuff. So, all we can do is say half the time, when I hit an electron, it was moving left, and half the time it was moving right. For this reason there's a 50% chance that any particular electron is moving right, and a 50% chance that it's moving left. However, until we hit the electron to see which way it's moving, we don't know, and there's been experiments that show that the electron isn't sure either. So, we say that it exists in both states, moving left and right, until we hit it, and force it to choose either left or right. Schrödinger's cat version. Schrödinger understood this, as far as is possible. This shit is whack, and was like, whoa, this shit is whack. I need an Eli5 version for my PhD students that don't have any brains. Schrödinger's cat is a thought experiment. You put a cat in a box and have no way to observe the cat while the box is closed. In the box you also put a device that will release poison based on a quantum observation that, like the electron moving left or right, has a 50% chance of being true. If the device reads true, the poison is released and the cat dies. Otherwise the cat lives. The cat, like the electron, exists as both alive and dead until someone opens the box. At the moment the cat is observed, the two cats collapse into a single cat. Probability 100%, which is either alive or dead. I wrote this super fast. It may not be too clear. I'll try to answer any questions you may have. Didn't Schrödinger come up with this in order to say you can't link the weirdness of quantum mechanics with the normal macroscopic world? We can't possibly imagine a cat being alive and dead simultaneously, yet a particle can be in two opposite states at once. You can say this electron is going right and left simultaneously. Edit. It's not literally going both left and right. It's in a superposition of the two states. Until I do something to make it choose one or the other, that's okay. But with Schrödinger's cat, you bind a cat's life to something that creates superposition, random radioactive decay, which should be possible, but then you hit a wall. It can't be possible simply because a cat can't be both alive and dead. What happens when the particle in superposition copies its state onto something bigger? The point is that quantum mechanics cannot be applied to the macroscopic world, either because the way we understand it is incomplete, or there's some magical barrier between the quantum world and the regular world. Either way, the Schrödinger's cat experiment wouldn't work in real life. Superposition can't apply to a cat. The question is, Why? I don't know if I understand it correctly, but I was pretty sure that Schrödinger came up with this to highlight that there is something missing between quantum mechanics and regular mechanics. Cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis. So glad when I found out this wasn't true. I'm addicted to cracking my knuckles and wrist, toes, neck, back and TMJ. So pleasurable. What's TMJ? Because it happens to be cold today, there is no global warming. I loved Colbert's response to this on one of his episodes of the Colbert Report. He was like, global warming does not exist because it's snowing today. Just like how world hunger doesn't exist because I'm not hungry right now. I've always liked the simile. Saying global warming isn't happening because it's super cold today is like saying that the Titanic isn't sinking because one side is tilted up. That there's a hidden cure for cancer but pharmaceutical companies are not releasing it because they would lose profits. To suggest that there is a sole cure for all types of cancer, be it a solid tumor like breast cancer or a hematologic malignancy like AML, is just so absurd to me. Or the ones who believe that it's not hidden. It's just still not legal. I was a music festival once where during the day they had a yoga type fundraiser for cancer. One of the announcers, while standing beside a young girl who was terminal, said something along the lines of, "We know what the cure is. Now we just have to get it legalized." It was one of the most obscene and rude things I've ever witnesses. Open bracket. I'm aware what they were talking about. In context, I didn't think it needed to be spelled out. They were talking about weed. We know what the cure is. Now we just have to get it legalized. They meant pot. That vaginas become looser after sex. My favorite is when a guy boasts that his girl was so tight. When a woman is turned on, the vagina widens. If the vagina is really tight, she might not be turned on. Edit. Obviously there are factors such as natural body size or a big ole dong that can make the vagina feel tight. And yes, it contracts, etc. But I'm referring to the vagina not being wet, and therefore not widening. And guys assuming that's a good thing. I've had my so enter me too early and I remember him getting all excited and saying, "Ooh, you're so tight," while I was wincing. That someone's ignorance is as valid as someone else's knowledge. This is why fair debates have to be careful, especially on TV news networks that seem to think equal time is always appropriate. Sometimes it isn't. Darrow Acute Brian does a great bit on the media insisting on balance in television debates for the sake of fairness. Oh, that's very interesting, Mr. NASA guy. But for the sake of balance we must now turn to Barry, who believes the sky's a carpet painted by God. Edit. Link. I'm tired of the belief that rubber ducks are just for kids. Throughout history, they have had plenty of other functions and are much more versatile than just a toy for babies. Often when I try to buy a rubber duck at a store by myself, I'll get weird looks or the cashier will ask if I'm going to a baby shower or something. No, I'm going to put it in my ass tonight. Good to hear that you're not using live ducks anymore. There's nothing wrong. He started strong and spoke with stirring pride in staying true and firm to you and who you are inside. "I'm not ashamed," he cried, inflamed, "to swear for all to see that I will stand and raise a hand for rights and creeds and me. So do your worst." He wept and cursed. "Subject my soul to strife, for I am free to boldly be, to proudly live my life." She waited, dazed, and stopped, amazed, to feel his fury pass, and shook her head. "Okay," he said. "Dut, but why is it up your ass?" There are 5 Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays this month and that only happens every 823 years and the Chinese call it moneybags. Share this Facebook post and you'll be rich. Seriously, it happens, on average, once a year and most of the time, when people share it, it isn't even true. This stupid thing is so easy to realize it's wrong. I don't know how anyone can believe it. I hate this one so much because of how ridiculously easy it is to fact check. Just look at a calendar. Not to mention, how ducking stupid do you have to be to not remember the same shit popping up year after year? Edit. Or the fact that the Chinese used a completely different calendar system 853 years ago, meaning this would be literally the first time it's happening under the new calendar system where Friday Saturday, Sunday actually exist and aren't just nameless days, meaning the term moneybags has no real meaning because it was made up specifically for this event. That if you find a baby bird on the ground and put it back in its nest, the parents will smell you and reject its baby. Birds are some of the best parents in the animal kingdom. Birds have an underdeveloped sense of smell and cannot smell you. Edit. Well, this blew up. I should have specified that I was talking about songbirds. I'm a naturalist from the Audubon Society and am aware of turkey vultures and shearwaters. So what you should do is leave the bird alone. If it has feathers and is on the ground, it's probably learning to fly and its parents are nearby. If it doesn't have feathers, and you put it back in the nest, and mom kicks it back out, it had absolutely nothing to do with you. I spend my summer banding birds. We open up every nest box at the nature center and band the chicks. Not one has ever been tossed from the nest because it smelled funny. Edit 2. Look at all these hilarious U/Uniden references. I haven't heard these every time I've posted about birds. Duck. So I killed all those baby birds for nothing? I thought I was putting them out of their misery. Reminds me of the girl who posted on Facebook about saving a tortoise by putting it in the lake. Gambler's fallacy. If something hasn't happened for a while, it is more likely to happen the next time it can. Or vice versa. It forgets that events are independent. If I drink and drive 1,000 times, it is more likely that I will get caught. However, if I don't the first 1,000, the probability of me being caught on the 1,001st time is no different than the first. https://en. Wikipedia. Org Wiki Gambler %27's fallacy. I think the perpetuation of this fallacy is simply a manifestation of paranoia. Oh, haven't gotten shot in a while. More likely to happen tonight, then. It makes intuitive sense. It's just wrong. I really hate the myth that the emergency oxygen masks on airplanes make you high or docile so you don't panic during a crash. That's almost the exact opposite effect. If airlines really wanted their passengers to be docile, they would just let them have hypoxia. Now that will make you calm. Did you know that if you mix equal parts of gasoline and frozen orange juice concentrate you can make napalm? Is that one also bullshit? The McDonald's coffee lawsuit. The facts. McDonald's also said during discovery that, based on a consultant's advice, it held its coffee at between 180 and 190 degrees Fahrenheit to maintain optimum taste. Post-verdict investigation found that the temperature of coffee at the local Albuquerque McDonald's had dropped to 158 degrees Fahrenheit. The trial court subsequently reduced the punitive award to $480,000 or 3 times compensatory damages, even though the judge called McDonald's conduct reckless, callous and willful. Do not Google for pictures of the burns. They're NSFL. Edit. She didn't sue because she got burned. She sued when she found out that McDonald's knew about the problem. Open bracket. B. Had settled with other people and C. Offered her a measly $800 in settlement because their lawyers thought she wouldn't have the guts to sue. Liebeck's case was far from an isolated event. McDonald's had received more than 700 previous reports of injury from its coffee, including reports of third-degree burns, and had paid settlements in some cases. Mrs. Liebeck offered to settle the case for $20,000 to cover her medical expenses and lost income, but McDonald's never offered more than $800, so the case went to trial. There was a documentary on this. The old woman who was burned only wanted help paying the medical bills from the horrendous burns, and the initial number that the jury decided on was the number everyone blew up over, I believe. Edit. I'd like to point out my stance on this situation is moreover the fact that this case was a perfect answer to the hot coffee lawsuit and regards most people have massive misconceptions over it. Most people I talk to in real life only know some woman probably in her 40s spilt coffee on herself and was awarded over $1 million, rather than not knowing that it was an elderly woman, that she required skin grafts since this wasn't just simple ouch type burns and the woman in the lawsuit wasn't some greedy conniving old woman like media presented her to be. Whether she wasn't safe enough with commonly admitted to be hot drink, I don't know. Personally, any drink that should ideally be served to me at over 120 degrees sounds stupid. But then again, I don't like or know jack about coffee. Long story short, this is an excellent answer to the question presented by the thread. Props on you, shit a lyricist. People blew up over her who doesn't know coffee is hot, entirely missing the point that it was way too hot for consumption. They likely assumed it was first degree burns rather than third degree, and all the talk radio and late night jokes about the story didn't help. That blood is actually blue. It is if you're horse show crab. On the internet, no one knows you're horse show crab. I absolutely hate the fitness industry's social media for popularizing the idea of a toned body. You see these people standing on medicine balls doing 100 body weight squats, or doing dumbbell curls with 5 pounds because they don't want to get too big. You aren't going to lift heavy weights for a year and accidentally become Arnold. No, lots of reps with little weight are not going to get you tone. Tone is muscle mass plus low body fat. To put on muscle, you need to lift heavy weight and progress over time. To have low body fat, you need to eat at a caloric deficit. It's really that simple. Edit. As a few mentioned, lifting heavier and progressing over time, increasing your strength, which also results in hypertrophy. However, bodybuilding programs don't necessarily focus solely on increased weights but rather work their muscles to failure. I mean, my friends keep inviting me to play basketball with them, but I don't want to accidentally LeBron. Well, it can happen. My wife threw at football at me once and I accidentally turned into Ray Rice. That an undercover cop has to tell you they're a cop as long as you ask them 3 times. Who the duck comes up with that shit? I always thought it was if you say a person's name in the mirror 3 times and turn out the lights, you'll hear a siren and see blue and red if that person is an undercover cop. Who the duck comes up with that shit? Most likely, undercover cops that want to protect their cover. Nuclear reactors can explode like nuclear bombs. No, they can't. They can get really hot and melt stuff or maybe set something else on fire that can explode. They do not explode like nuclear ordnance. Edit. Today I learned there is a difference between ordnance and ordnance. I could have blamed it on autocorrect. Please excuse my phonetics. Radiation in general gets a really bad rap. http:// assets.craftfoods.com recipe images append deploy /114640x428 JPG. In the public opinion, my go-to analogy is that Manhattan Island is several times more radioactive than the maximum safe level inside a nuclear-powered submarine. Edit. I meant what I said. That we only use 10% of our brains. Yes, because millions of years of evolution allowed us to keep a whole lot of space occupied for no possible use or function. Spare me. 10% of people use their brains. Whenever I hear someone say that, I always explain it to them like this. That's like saying you only use 10% of your house because you are only in one room at a time. It won't make sense for you to be in your entire house all at once. If you want to cook something, you go to the kitchen. Being in your kitchen, as well as your bathroom and your bedroom, would not help you with the task of cooking. The brain, just like your house, has specialized areas for certain tasks, or for certain types of tasks. It wouldn't be efficient or effective to use all of your brain, all the time. That hair that is shaved trimmed will grow back thicker and longer. It won't and doesn't. It's an illusion created by everything being neatly cut to the same length, giving it an effect of more volume. The idea that ancient people were stupid and backward. We are only where we are now because of their achievements. And we will look stupid and backward in a few years. Also, treat cancer with radiation? How barbaric. Video game where you use your hands? That's like a baby's game. They let actual humans pilot cars? What were they thinking? That somebody is stupid simply because they don't know something more, that people mock their stupidity. There was recently a constantly reposted thread, what's the dumbest thing you've ever heard someone say, and it's always chock full of shit that people shouldn't be mocking but instead just correct them and be happy you got to teach them something. Just found out Easter is the first Sunday after a full moon on or after the 21st of March. Never knew before last night. but nobody else in the car knew either, so they didn't mock me for not knowing why Easter is when it is. If I asked the same question about Thanksgiving, I am sure I would have been made fun of. TL. Doctors, stop making fun of people for being misinformed or uninformed and be happy you get to inform them. My friend told me a great story about his childhood. He lost his father when he was 18. But he likes to sometimes share stories about what type of man his father was. His father was a dentist and came from a family of very successful and educated people. He was very well spoken. Anyway, when my friend was a little kid, he and his dad went to the auto shop to pick up the car which was getting repaired. The mechanic explained to his father what the issue was, but could barely string a sentence together. He sounded very uneducated. In the car, my friend turned to his dad and said, "Dad, you must think that guy's a total idiot." His dad looked at him and said, "Well, pal, you might think he's an idiot, but he did something that I could never do. People are smart in different ways. I can fix people's dental issues very well, but I have no idea how to fix my own car. He's a lot smarter than I am in that way. I know it's not exactly what you're saying, but it's definitely related. People are smart in different ways, and not knowing something doesn't necessarily mean that someone is stupid. They may not know how to perform surgery on a person, but they might know how to do so on your car if you can't do so. I don't eat chemicals. Okay, enjoy your nice tasty diet of photons and vacuum. I met like 30 people in prison that said they did time with Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre because I went to prison in Texas. They would all say different variations of how he was quiet and big. Oh yay, too bad he's a fictional character inspired by two different people. I got in a lot of fights at the beginning. I was just about to post the same thing. So many people think that there's a guy named Leatherface in Huntsville who massacred people with a chainsaw, as seen in the documentary The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and its 6 follow-up docs. I've been in a lot of actual arguments over this, because people get really pissed when you tell them it's not real, and before anyone says it, yes, it was loosely based off of Ed Gein, and when I say loosely, I mean very loosely. That jellyfish are electric. They're not. They sting you with nematocysts which stick in your skin and inject some toxins. That's what stings. You're not getting shocked, you're getting microscopically stabbed. Always remember tentacle is water plus poison, not water plus electric. Blame SpongeBob for this one. That all gay men want to have sex with all men. If you aren't turning down women left and right, you likely aren't so good looking that we can't control ourselves. Or that lesbians are just trying to convert all women to their man-hating cause. Or that bisexuals are just slups who will duck anyone. It's like you mention sex, equality, and people get 800% dumber instantly. Even if you are that good looking, the worst that will happen is you'll probably be hit on. Most gay guys aren't into rape, much like most straight guys. That glass is a really viscous liquid and that's why older windows are thicker at the bottom. If you want to get technical with it, it is a viscous liquid until it cools and solidifies, kinda like jello. I even had a professor in my graduate class say this: if it doesn't deform with a shear force, it ain't a liquid. That being cold causes a cold. While true it doesn't directly, coldness does weaken your immune system and will make you more susceptible to catching a cold. Edit. http://nas.org content 112.3.827 a paper on the topic. There's a few others as well, but I had a read through this a while ago. Why is Jesus depicted as a white European? Edit. Now that everyone is gone, I wanna say, I knew why it just annoyed me. Because they tried to make Jesus more relatable when Christianity came to Europe. Yup, and Europeans made many paintings of him. That you shock a flatline to bring someone back to life. The Vikings did not have horns on their helmets. Damn it. They had it on their heads. http://imgur comcoxodnv gif. Damn. If that really existed as a genetical thing, Scandinavians would be scary as duck. Don't know if they count as myths, but pretty much any weight loss system that isn't essentially eat less, move more. The persistent myth that people before about 1600, particularly in Europe, were a bunch of knuckle-dragging, unenlightened, Superstitious idiots. The most annoying comment, that they thought the earth was flat. The oldest universities in Europe were founded in the Middle Ages. Their education system laid out the foundations of formal and informal logic. Law and rhetoric were taught along with arts. This is why so many logical arguments, fallacies and legal concepts are still referred to by Latin phrases. Scientifically, they followed the natural laws inherited from Aristotle, not modern physics, or even early modern physics, but it was still an understanding of matter and motion according to a set of laws. Also, geocentric astronomy was still astronomy after all. It was still able to predict eclipses and the movement of the sun. They did this all without even a crude telescope, and simply watching the sun and moon with the naked eye. I do not know of any modern astronomers who can say they've done the same. Edit to add, wow. I seriously appreciate the amount of response that this had received. I appreciate all the comments shared here. You/thecat5001 shared this article on Aristotle's physics and Newtonian's physics if you're interested in scholarly literature, and you ought to be. There's another book called God's Philosophers, How the Medieval World Laid the Foundations of Modern Science that talks a bit about what everyone discussed here. Here's review of it by an atheist alternately. You can look up Aristotle's physics, Thomas Aquinas on Aristotle, or Albert the Great, or Roger Bacon. If you got the minerals, and the time and patience, to read primary source. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.